is your favorite podcast show, The Rundown. And I'm with my crew, of course, the night and day, my cat Nia Lacey, my Laverne and Shirley, my red bone and chocolate drop, Emac,
What's good,
Caramel.
everybody? What's
What it
good?
do? What it do? And y'all already know who the hell I be. It's your boy, The Ward. What's good?
So,
We here. We back. Finally. Let's go, y'all. What we got?
well, War, I think we have to introduce our special guest.
Well,
War,
listen.
come on, stay with us now.
Listen. It's been a minute. It's been a minute. But I got Emac and Caramel. They on here. Y'all been all over the countries and camps and all that good stuff. So we back to chop it up. But we do. Y'all right. We got two special guests up in the studio with us today. Of course, we got the lovely. Oh man, she got so many damn hats. Man, I guess I have to let her tell all her hats. We got Miss Latanya Morris, sex therapist and actress, singer, and oh man, the list goes on and on and on. What's going on, Latanya? What's good?
Hi, how are you?
How you feeling?
Everything
How
is
you feeling?
well. I feel
Good,
good.
good.
It's been a long weekend, so with it being Sunday, hey, started a new week. I feel like the week is just ending, so I don't know what's. Oh, and it's my
Wow,
birthday. It's my birthday next Sunday, so I'm a little giddy.
Yay!
Yeah.
it
Happy
sure
early
is.
birthday! Happy early.
Thank you.
It definitely sure is. Definitely, we can't wait to wish you happy birthday and get it in with you or whatever. But
Thank you.
our other guests, we got the man himself, Mr. Comedian. Ah man, my good brother here. I've enjoyed his posts over the years and met him a few times or whatever at different functions or whatever. But man, we got my bro Ron Gaines Jr. up into his house. What's
Yup.
going on, bro?
Oh man, just trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. You know how it is.
Damn right. You're damn right about that. Well, we got Ron on here. He's going to bring on his expertise, 20 plus years, y'all, in law enforcement. And we're just going to just get in, dive into it, chop it up about the shooting that happened some time ago, some weeks back or whatever, with Sonia Massey. And
Right.
we're going to just dive in. Emac Caramel, how y'all want to go about this? What y'all talking about? What's up? What's up? What's up?
Ooh, Caramel, you want to kick this one off because we was kind of talking before the show. It's kind of hard for me to just. So maybe when I hear everybody else's perspective, I'll just start to jump on in there.
So, I mean, I could start it off like this because I'm gonna tell you something. Me and one of my friends just had a little heated discussion about it, and I told him I was like, I'm not watching the video. I refuse to watch the video. I'm so tired of seeing all this trauma. Yeah, I'm tired of having PTSD about all these crazy killings. Yeah, I couldn't watch it.
Hmm.
So I
Mm.
can't tell you the facts about it or nothing like that because I refuse to watch anymore killing of our black folks. It's just it's too much. You know what I'm saying? And for my mental, because I'm gonna protect my mental space. Yeah, I couldn't watch it.
Okay, so for those who may not know, you may have been under a shell for the past couple months or so or whatever. You may have been sleeping, but we're going to wake you up, get you in tune. This is a shooting that happened to an African American young lady. I believe she was 37 years old. She had heard some disturbance outside or in her neighborhood or whatever like that, and she called the police to her house. Two white officers came to answer the call. They initially was just looking around the block and then looking around her house, all around her house. And then she finally came to the door, let them in. And they were questioning her, getting her information, getting her ID and all that good stuff. And apparently the officer, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, told her to go over to turn the the water that was boiling on the stove, turn it off. And so she went over there and did that. And I think we all pretty know the rest was history. He basically told her, I'll shoot you in the face or whatever like that. She started saying, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus, to that effect. You guys, if I may have missed something, you guys can take it from there. And this is what we have today. Very serious matter, and just want to get everybody's perspective or whatever on this situation, because this is happening also too often to us. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would be interested, Ron, to kind of hear your perspective, having years of experience in law enforcement. Kind of what your take on it. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay. Well, this video in particular was really interesting because there was so many different elements in it. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't to me I don't like to use the term typical or random or or let's say like they'll say this is a typical traffic stop or a typical domestic disturbance when there's
Well, break
nothing.
it down. Break it down for us, Ron. Did
Yeah,
they do everything exactly to protocol?
well, in all actuality, watching the video at first, and starting from the beginning where they searched around the house. I mean, it searched around the outside of the house because the call came in of she was hearing noise outside. All that was great, fine and dandy, and you can almost tell when the one officer was like, "Okay, ma'am, there's nobody outside," and they were pretty much getting ready to leave. But I don't know the officers' names, but he was kind of insistent on like, "Well, let me show me some ID. Let's go into your house." That right there was kind of strange for me, like because it was more of like you did what you were called to do.
Right.
Anything extra to me was like, okay, why? Because you can clearly tell from the time she opened the door that I really wouldn't say that she was a person in crisis, but I can also tell that it doesn't seem like she had all her mental faculties at the
Yeah.
time during the interaction. Like, okay,
Right.
something's going on with her. Something's going on with her. I don't think it was criminal in nature at all, but for the officer to take it upon himself to say, okay, show me some ID, and that was strange because she was the caller because she was actually still on the phone with the dispatcher at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's
Hmm.
also strange. It's almost like because I mean, like, listen, I do believe in that sixth sense she might have and so on and so forth, but she did have something about her where she says, well, they're there with you, so let me hang up. She's like, no, don't hang up. Like it's almost like she almost kind of saw something that wasn't right, and from her point of view, because
Yeah.
she was fearful of the police. I mean, even though she called them, you could still tell she had some sort of, she was hesitant, and the questions they were asking her, you could tell she was like not in her right state of mind.
Yeah.
So it just a lot of different things happen that typically what I would call this an incident of officer induced jeopardy, where they
Hmm.
put themselves in a situation that where they
Mm-hmm.
had to use deadly force unnecessarily. In
Hmm.
my opinion, that
Yeah.
they because once and then I think it's also a cultural thing because once the one partner said, "Hey, you need to turn off the stove," and she went over and then he backed up and she says, "Where are you going?" He's like, "Well, I don't want to be anywhere around you and your hot water," which was smart. But then she says, "I'll rebuke you." And the officer that she was talking to wasn't even the one who responded to her. It was his partner who, for whatever reason, was like what the f you said, you better not, and then pulled the gun out on her. And I was like, maybe he didn't hear what she said, but I don't know how I rebuke you can take it to that level.
Far. You know what's interesting though? If you look closely at the video, when she took the pot over to the counter, she set it on the counter.
Right.
It wasn't being picked up in attempt to be thrown.
No.
She actually fell to the floor.
Mhm. Yeah,
Like
she ducked when he pulled the weapon out. She
she fell to the floor. Like,
yeah,
but
she instinctively tried to move out the way of the barrel. Nobody likes to get in front of
yeah,
the
but
barrel.
like to
Yeah,
your original point, like how are you going to ask for somebody's ID and you're in their home? Like by law, she can't. Like she shouldn't have been able to provide her ID. She shouldn't have been asked to. Like I just think,
Hmm.
officers have these body cams on now, and I don't know if they like you would think with the body cam on, you would be on your best behavior and operate within the realm of your training,
Okay. All right.
like
Hello.
yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. My son just called in the middle of what you were saying.
Oh no, you good, you're good. I was just saying about these body cams, like you would think police officers wearing body cams, they would be on their best behavior, they will operate within the realm of their job duties,
You know
how
what?
to use,
Hold on, Erica, because
yeah.
my volume went out. Hold on. Let me
You
try to
probably gonna
log
have
off
to
and log
leave
back in.
out and come back in. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to leave out and come back in. Yeah. Tanya, what you think about all of this foolishness is going on right
Well, to be truthful with you, I didn't watch all of the video. That stuff is like very triggering to me because I
now?
work with the police and I work with the community and I
Yeah.
work with emergency response out here in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Emergency response is a team that go out with child services. So
Yeah.
whenever there's like a crime suspected or committed, then I'm one of the people called to go out and assess the situation, right? And so a
Mm-hmm.
lot of time that's like after law enforcement and the social worker and the situation have calmed down, then I go out to assess it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very sensitive to me because I depend on the police a great deal. And I don't wear any type of uniform. I'm looked at as a civilian in a community. And so it concerns me about my safety, safety of my family and just others, just the initial response. And then it's like showing up, you could see something's not right. You could tell with the way that she was disheveled, you could tell with the way her home appeared, you could tell
Mm-hmm.
with her body posture, the tone in her voice.
Yep.
And so I think that those are just very general cues that any trained person that deal with the public safety should be aware of, just having knowledge of, hey, again, something's not right.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
that's what I wanted to allude to. Ron touched on it a couple times. Her mental capacity of how she was interacting while they were there.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, and we discussed this on the last time you were on, Latanya. Like, should licensed professionals, when police officers are knowing that they are going to certain calls where there is a mentally unstable person or a person who deals with or has mental, um, problems, should a licensed therapist accompany them on that call?
How would they have known that though? Just off of
Yeah.
a
They wouldn't
call.
have known
well,
that. They would have had to
well,
call in that
Well, a lot of
reinforcement.
times the calls are, you know, called in where police officers know that they're dealing with a person with mental illness. So I'm saying for those calls
But what if she didn't
that
have a history of it?
what I'm saying is for those calls that the police officers know that they're dealing with a mental uh, person with mental illness, should a licensed therapist accompany them?
well, I look at this two ways because again, mental illness doesn't always have a face or a name or a color, race. We all know this. It's like one of those hidden illnesses that someone could walk
Mm-hmm.
around, just like you and I, and have it. So that's one, it's hard to identify. But two, I think once the safety is no longer a concern and you're talking to someone and their stability is in question, then yes, someone should be called. As long as that safety issue is now ruled out. Like they surveyed the perimeter, they made sure everything was safe because they felt safe to approach her and go to her home and talk to her. And I think when she
Mhm.
seemed a bit off, then yes, I think someone should have been called to make sure that she was safe and that she was
Mm-hmm.
in some type of crisis. And I think that's the thing that is missing. They're trained to go out and think of safety, but then also what are people mental capacity after you rule out that they have, a gun or weapons or a means to like cause harm. It's like, what's next? We should
Right.
be assessing their mental stability. Should we be putting them in a jail cell or should we be putting them on a 5150 hold? And I think that's the thing that's missing. And for those, the 5150 hold is pretty much a psychiatric hold that a designated government person can put you on, such as a therapist, a psychiatrist, social worker. It depends on your state and county who's able to do this.
Yeah.
So I think that's the missing piece. They're so trained with gun knowledge and safety that we don't think about mental health.
Well,
Yeah.
that's not 100. I mean, that's correct, but also there's more. There's more to it than just that because I actually train officers in crisis response. We call them people in crisis or CIT, crisis intervention team. And our job is to actually recognize signs and symptoms. So it's like you get there, and like she said before, mental illness can affect everybody. And as a police officer, your job is to get there and see if this person is acting erratically because of their mental illness. Because just because you have mental illness does not mean you're in crisis at all times. So like Latanya said, because it can affect anybody, any age, any race,
Right.
any social economic background. So job is law enforcement to get there. Now, ideally, the way I would love to have seen this handled is they would have got there, they would have did their preliminary investigation, seen that she was not at risk or not, and then went inside. And once they saw the condition, the hoarding, you know, and even the response that she actually had, where she wasn't, really coherent, they would then call a trained professional to come out and do an evaluation,
Right.
because I train officers that you cannot legally, you do not want to take somebody against their right. And we have certain criteria that they have to fall into before we can legally take
Mhm.
them out of their homes and put them into the hospital for evaluation.
Yeah.
And so the minimum they should have done was at least uh, um, handed her off to some sort of. But you got to realize too, one of the big problems that we have is that not a lot of these places aren't 24 hours. A lot of these mental health clinics are only 9 to 5 type clinics, and of course, policing is a 24-hour job. So
Hmm.
and at this point, policing and law enforcement across the nation, they don't have the manpower to keep doing follow-ups over and over again. But it
Yeah.
would have been great if they would have just said, okay, this woman's safe. She's living on her own, but she seems like she might need some help, as far as I don't know if she's diagnosed or at least be evaluated.
Yeah. I think I was listening to Candace Owens. I don't know if you guys follow her. I'm actually a pretty big fan of Candace Owens.
Oh yeah, love her.
I am
Um,
too.
and but some things that she says, I don't agree with, and
Right.
but she brought up an interesting question. She said that when we think historically before elections, George Floyd being one of them, now Sonia Massey, these incidents happen right before election time. And she was basically saying, what if these things are being done on purpose to get the
Planned,
black
huh?
community riled up?
Mm.
And
I've
I
heard I've heard that.
sit back and think about it. Like, I'm curious what y'all thoughts are on that, because
Never thought about that angle.
Well, I've heard that. I've heard that before in the past week or so. That what is it? Not necessarily that with the presidency. That is the thing too. You can say that on one hand, but when these things happen or happen on purpose during certain times of the year,
Mhm.
what is it necessarily that they are purposely trying to keep our attention off that's going on in other parts of the world?
Yeah, I
That's
think
the
that's
thing.
I think it's
Well,
also a way to keep up racial, kind of
divide.
keep that divide
Hmm.
where, and then, oh, let's not even mention, like, police officers, that's like a whole nother conversation. And then you got the racial, like, it's just a lot. You
Yes.
know, I
So
can honestly say, like, this upcoming election, I'm really, really nervous about. Like, I've never been the type that was worried about who was in office because I've never had any impacts. My
Right.
household has not
Right.
felt any impact.
Yeah.
I don't care if Bozo the Clown was in office. Like,
Mhm.
but I
Yeah,
just
I
feel
see it.
like, with Trump and like him just inciting different things, basically saying we're gonna take away voting rights in so many words. Like, y'all ain't got to worry about voting no more,
Yeah,
Christian.
that was wild.
Like,
Yeah, that was wild.
wow, like what are you talking about? And
That
then
was
like
wild.
Sonya Massey, like it's just wild right now.
so let me ask you guys, because it's a couple of questions I have about it. I haven't, like I said, I didn't dig into it because, like I said, protecting my mental.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One thing, where did this occur? It didn't occur in Chicago, right?
No, it
Springfield.
was some other.
Okay,
Illinois.
occurred in Springfield. This
Yep.
is the thing, though. Do you all know a couple of months ago, another black boy was gunned down by a police officer here in Chicago? But I don't
No.
think it received. So I don't think it received the publicity that they wanted it to do.
Who was that?
So it's funny, and this was before, because working for the school system, they sent out an actual email to prep us, in case the kids had some type of, you know, effect from that happening. So this happened right before the school year was over with. But like
What
I
was
Wait a
his name?
minute.
said, it didn't get the big headlines and publicity that they wanted it to do. Then all
What
of a
was
sudden, a couple of months later, we have this incident, which is getting that attention and everything else.
what was his
So
name?
What? Yeah, yeah. I'm
I,
trying to
I,
think of.
I, I,
Yeah.
I can't tell you offhand because I have
Oh,
to
okay.
look.
Okay.
I have to look, but you don't remember that, Ron?
Well, the last police involved shooting I remember is the one where it was the traffic stop and the guy shot outside, shot the police officer in the hand. He shot a black officer in the
It was
hand,
no,
and they returned fire and they shot and killed him. That's the last
it was a
police
younger
shooting I can
person.
think
It was
of.
a younger person. That's what it was. It was a young guy. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I
But
got yeah.
it happened maybe in March. March, April, something like that.
I probably need a little more to go off. I don't
Yeah.
remember hearing.
I could look it up. If you all give me a
Yeah,
moment, I'll look it up. But
yeah,
like I
yeah.
said, that
Yeah.
happened a couple months ago. And like nobody knows about it. Nobody remembers it.
Well,
Nobody,
because you know what the thing is, you also have to remember it's what are the details. Now, because it's a police involved shooting, the
of
ones that
course.
get the ones that get the most attention are the ones they feel are like unjust and unjust
Of
shootings.
course.
Now, just
Of
because officers shoot somebody who's black does not necessarily make it an unjust
But
situation,
that,
like the one I
but
just
that's
explained
not
to you.
my thing because it was something there because they wanted to prep everybody. You know what I'm
Well, yeah,
saying? They was
if you can give me
prepping
a name
officials,
or
prepping
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
if
You
you give me
know,
a
so
name or an
that
incident, I could probably look and
I'm
see
gonna
like,
give
wait a
you the
minute.
information. Give me a second. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna give you that
So,
information. But it's
Uh-huh.
just funny how now all of a sudden something else happens and now we getting that big attention and it's getting all that attraction that they want
Well,
to
I think
happen.
I think like for this one does seem like an unjust type of
yeah.
questionable shooting, quote unquote questionable. Some shootings aren't really questionable. They're like, oh yeah, this is what happened. Dude was shooting at the police. Police shot back, killed him. You really don't get too many kickback and riots or anything because of that. But
Mhm.
whenever you find somebody who's in a situation where it's like, why they do this, then that's what brings everyone's attention because everyone's like, yeah, well, why did they do this?
Yep.
Mhm.
But
And
Uh,
the
And
fact
like
that she seemed so harmless, she did
right,
not seem like a
yeah,
threat at all. She
Not
seemed
at all.
really fearful. I mean,
right,
from the start of what I
yeah,
saw to the point of her ducking, she
yeah,
seemed so fearful. She did
yeah,
not seem aggressive.
nah,
I think that guy, just looking at his history and what they said, you know how some people just slip through the hoops. It's almost changing your first name from being what they say, a black surname to a white surname or
uh
whatever,
huh.
so
to
that you
get the
get a
job.
job. It seemed like he just slipped through the cracks, slipped through the cracks, slipped through the cracks.
Yeah,
And
his,
it's
his
unfortunate.
his actions were
It's
very
unfortunate. But
strange.
you
Yeah.
know what? You know who I hold accountable? I hold accountable every organization and every agency that let him slip through the crack so that
Oh,
he could
absolutely.
come and be a threat to our community, our society. Of course, he couldn't get a job in his white neighborhood, so he came over to our black neighborhoods to work because nobody else would probably hire him. And this is just me personally saying this. This is my opinion. You know, I think it's just very sad that people like that are unleashed on us in smaller unincorporated towns. That's pretty much where it happened, where they have a smaller budget for law enforcement.
Yep.
Okay. So therefore the requirement is lower. The standard is lower because there's no way he should have even got hired for a security job, let alone a law enforcement, or police, a sheriff.
Yes, I don't know about his prior. I
A
don't know what other
sheriff.
priors he had. Yeah, because sometimes
Well,
he said, look, it would be
He had
the
DUIs. He had, I think he was in the military or something where he got kicked out for like
yeah.
behavior issues. Like,
So the
I have a
recruitment definitely
question
should
too.
change. Yeah,
I have
yeah,
another question about that case. She had every right to tell them that they couldn't come in our house, right?
yeah.
And she
According
didn't
to the
have
law,
to allow them
yeah,
in, right?
no, no, she didn't
no.
have to. No. Mm-mm.
and there's something called the pet team, right? Usually, if police officers or anyone like myself go out and you talk, the pet team is the psychiatric emergency team. I think they have some units in most police departments, most agencies have them, right? So the pet team is typically called to go out and assess a situation along with the police. I don't know what Illinois standards are as far as that concerned, Ron, but do they have anything like that?
Well, what they do have is the thing is the mayors are different. Like we have the cares teams, which consist of a trained clinician, a CFD paramedic, and a crisis intervention trained officer, and they respond to those low level of threats, like this woman's call. If it would have came out as a disturbance with a person with a mental illness seeking help, but like you said, sometimes you get on the scene and that's when you realize, oh wait, this person it's a mental condition. So
Mm-hmm.
like this call right here probably didn't come out at probably just came out as a woman hearing noises at her house, which any officer will respond to. But to have someone that actually has like this up for the call takers and the dispatchers to say ask more questions to find out if this person is suffering from some sort of mental health condition before they send out specially trained officers.
So, Ron, I want to piggyback on you saying earlier that you train officers to recognize or how to deal with these situations.
Correct.
I think one of my questions that I had for you, I sent over to you, was how much training do officers coming in to the police force or law enforcement,
Hmm.
how much training are they getting? How many hours or what is the
I
requirements?
got you. Well, for the actual training, while they're recruits in the academy, they get approximately, I think, 8 to 10 hours with scenario-based training on dealing with people in crisis. But
That's
they
it?
can't. Well, no, 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 because once they get out, because of the one of the consent decree is basically stating that they cannot be certified, a certified crisis intervention team officer with having less than 18 months of police experience. Now, after that, they will take 40 hours of training to get certified through both the city and the state. After that certification, every 3 years they come back for a 2 day recertification class.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much, and then the consent decree has just added an additional 8 hour training class for everyone, even if you're certified or not, to take it. So they're serious about getting this training out for officers.
Yeah,
Mm.
I think that's really good to know, Ron. And then I mean, just even talking about it though, it's good to have training because you want to be able to give people the tools and resources to know how to handle certain situations, right? That they've never been in
Mhm.
before.
True.
But that is also a liability, like like we have to say we trained you, but we talking about like being a human being, like
Mhm.
caring for life. And this has nothing to do with training because you can't train that. Like,
No, no, no. Like being empathetic and having all types of,
yeah,
yeah,
like,
compassion. Yeah, some certain people have it more than others, for for most part. See,
Oh, for sure.
ideally, in order to be a CIT trained officer, in its inception, it was all volunteer based. Because people,
mm,
a message would come out to the whole department saying, "Hey, these
yeah,
dates are available for you to be certified," and because they want officers to respond to these calls that actually have that compassion, have that empathy. Some people might join because they say, "Hey, I have a loved one that might suffer from mental health. I'd want a CIT officer to respond
yeah,
to that type of call." So that's ideally how it was supposed to be.
okay.
They've since kind of had made it where they still take applications, but now they're kind of saying they don't want to call it mandatory, but they're saying, okay, you might just wake up one day and see you got a 40-hour training to be certified, because they
Mm,
see the calls of services are increasing. So they're like, all right, we need to get more and more CIT trained officers out there on the street. The only way
mhm,
we can do this is by basically saying, hey, sorry, policing in itself is evolving, and this is just another hat that police officers have to wear. We have to respond to these calls of service. You can't just say, we don't get to turn down a call like, well, I'm not certified. It's a man with a gun call, well, I'm not certified.
mhm,
Or it's a
mhm.
domestic, I'm not certified. So our goal is to get everybody on the same training so they can answer any type of calls that's presented to
Okay.
Mm.
I did find out
them. Okay.
that person's name is Dexter Reed, and it was a dope.
Dexter Reed.
Dexter Reed.
Oh, I heard about that
That
one.
email that came out was like April 9th, so it happened sometime before then. And he was shot down in Humboldt Park. Does that help?
Let me see.
Is that Chicago North Side?
Yeah, Humboldt Park is in Chicago, North Side.
Yes, Northside.
Because the only reason I asked about it because, like I said, they were really preparing us just in case something major happened, like to support the students and all that stuff for a crisis. So
Wait a
Yeah.
second. This this wasn't a. You know what? I don't even remember this one. Hold on.
you don't remember that? And it's funny
Oh.
because, like I said, I didn't hear no real big thing about it, but it was funny how they sent out all the emails. Just like, okay, be prepared for this just in case something comes about. Da 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 da, and yeah, I think I heard about it briefly on the
Wait a minute.
radio.
Yeah, this is the one we were talking about where he was sitting in the car.
Oh, that was okay. So that's
Right,
why
but
I
he
said
fired.
I don't
Yeah,
remember.
it said he fired his illegally owned gun, injuring a Chicago police officer during a traffic stop, and the police returned fire.
Okay,
That was March
that's
21st.
cool.
Yeah, that
Okay,
was during a
okay,
traffic stop. Yeah, of course you're
okay.
gonna get the lawsuits, everything else, but if you look at the police video camera, everything else, yeah, this guy,
Mhm.
he put, yeah,
And that's
he
probably why they didn't make a big fuss at it, like you said.
right, yeah, because he shot the police officer, and then he got out the car and got shot up. Yeah, okay, yeah, I remember
Mm.
that one.
Okay,
Awesome.
okay.
But
Let
like I
me
said,
let me
people are more willing to speak up when they feel like it was unjust. But after the video, one thing now is the body cam footage comes out and people right away can see like, oh, wait a minute, this dude he shot the police and then he was shot and killed by the police. That tends to happen.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
let me ask both of you guys, starting with you, Latanya. What improvements can be made that we can kind of reduce this or alleviate things like this from happening?
Um,
Uh, yeah, from your profession.
well, I can't really say what go on with law enforcement and their training, but I really do hope that they increase the training as far as mental health crisis support, because I think police officers, they're therapists. A lot of times they're going out there and they're mediating and they're trying to figure things out. So I think that, definitely more training in mental health. Also, ensuring that they're taking care of their own personal mental health when they go out, because a lot of prejudices they have, and they are also triggered. They
Mhm.
also have experienced trauma, and they are human beings as well. So I think making sure that they constantly take care of themselves.
Mm.
Like I'm a marriage and family therapist. I'm constantly in therapy. Although I provide therapy to my clients, I have to make sure that there's a baseline for myself, that I'm mentally healthy, stable, emotionally stable. It's like if I'm having a bad day, I don't see clients. If I don't feel like I'm emotionally there and I'm not emotionally aware, hey, guess what? I'm canceling work that day because I'm dealing with other people's issues. So
Mm.
Right.
just being more self-aware and more training. I think less technical training, because mental health is not technical. It's not necessarily just a school book unless you're trying to diagnose.
Right.
And that's not what we're asking law enforcement to do. We're asking them to be able to identify and then reach out to adequate resources to assist. So I don't think that they're the bearer of their trying to you know deal with the crisis on their own, but I definitely think some more adequate and significant changes are made so that both of us feel safe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Ron?
I fully agree. I think one of the biggest things, especially in law enforcement, is to have available resources. First and foremost, like I said, a lot of resources aren't 24 hours a day, and policing is a 24-hour job. Secondly, I would talk about the recruitment process. I would love I would definitely love, honestly, if more African Americans became law enforcement so we can police our neighborhoods. So there wouldn't be that cultural difference. Like, I know right away if somebody say, I rebuke you, that's not a personal threat because I know that that's not like you're going to try to attack me or anything else. But that's why I said it's so many, this is such a multifaceted type problem that we have. It comes from, like I say, the only way I feel like you can fix the problem is on the inside. I mean, people protest everything else, but I need my officers. I want officers that look like me to patrol like me.
Yep.
So I mean that's a big thing. That's a big take because unfortunately, and this is what I've noticed too, like 25 years of doing this, when it comes to African Americans and law enforcement, now all of a sudden we're Uncle Toms, we're coons, we're this, we're so on and so forth. But it's like, hey, who would you want to answer these calls of service? Like, I'm not gonna lie, I use it to my advantage. I had a domestic situation where I got on the phone. I told the guy who pulled a gun on his wife, "Hey man, just talk to me, listen to me, because hey, last thing you want is these white boys to run up in there. So just talk to me, and we can get you out of here alive." And I was able to talk him out, no problem, because I can talk to him, and it
Right.
wasn't it wasn't just a being black, we don't view everybody as a bad person because we know there's other side. But if you're not, you gotta realize they're in a job where 90% of the calls they face are with the 10% of bad black people who are causing all the problems.
Yep.
So unfortunately, they would use a broad brush to paint everybody the same way, and it's like, no, that's not how it is. You know,
Yep.
I I I want people to get out here, talk to the community, meet the people. Understand that not everybody's a bad actor. You
Mm-hmm.
don't have to come in on 10 all the time. You just, you got to go there and you have to speak to people like they're human beings.
I think it's
You know,
scary. I think it's really scary, and we do need our own to police us. I really agree with that. We need more African American candidates to join the police force because it's scary, man. Like if white or other races that don't get our lingo, that don't know black culture or what goes on in the hood,
hmm
and they come upon certain individuals or situations where, certain lingo is said,
right.
they're ready
That,
to
and that,
pull out their gun
that,
because they
that
don't know what the
happens.
hell a
That
certain
happens.
lingo
That
means.
happens more often than you'd want to believe. It's almost, and people might be able to relate to this. You remember on Sanford and Son when they had the black cop and the white cop, and every time they
Mm-hmm.
showed up, so Fred will say something to the white cop, and then he looks at the black cop for translation. That
Yeah.
happens a lot.
Exactly.
That happens. I've had to translate a lot of times, and
Yes.
like this guy, he was panicking because he said, I'm sorry, but I have so many police stories. I remember dealing with white officers. It's like this guy was
Yeah.
panicking because he was running from the police, and they're like, "Where's the drugs?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "You were in the alley." He said, "Yeah, I just dropped off two quarter pieces." And then y'all put the lights on. I just tried to take off. You scared me. So they like, where the drugs at? Quarter pieces. Where the drugs at? And this dude he was terrified. because he kept saying, I just dropped off 2 quarter pieces. So I had to explain to him, if an attractive woman is a dime, then a gorgeous woman is a quarter. So he had 2 attractive females in the car, and he just dropped them off at their house. Then y'all put he was like, why did you just say that? He's like, that is what I said. And I was like, oh my goodness.
Oh yes.
You know, so it's like you say, it's
Oh my
cultural.
God.
It's a
Scary.
cultural
It's scary,
cultural
man.
problem.
It's really scary because
Yes.
something can be said
Mm-hmm.
where a white officer or Chinese officer or whatever type of the race, and they don't even know what the lingo is, and
Right.
they take it as offensive, and then they're
Yep.
ready to draw their gun. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, no, that's what he just said is nothing offensive or against you.
Right.
It's a total hood cultural thing that
Yeah.
you just don't understand or get.
Yeah. Like I
It's
said, it's
scary out here,
multifaceted. It
man.
is.
The
And people.
black life is in fear every day.
Yeah.
Yes, men and women.
Sure.
Women are very much so in fear, and I think I want to say that men be a little bit easier on us, not just men of other cultures. I mean, our men. As we speak, men need support and have your man's back and be his peace. Hey, there are a lot of women out here dealing with emotional and mental health issues that still have to be moms, still have to go to work, still have to take care of grandma and
Yep.
everyone else, and then have their own personal issues.
True.
So I think increasing awareness and support within our own community, stop beating each other's
Yes.
asses.
True.
Stop downing each other,
Yeah.
stop speaking negatively about each other, and
Yep.
then possibly people of other cultures and races will start looking at us different and respect us a little bit more when we do present for help.
Right.
We're not laughed at and shunned away because of how we're known to act in our culture. And I take it on too because we are one. We're not separate. I don't care how ignorant people are. We still one. We're still of the same people, the same blood, all of that. So I just
Yep.
wanted to, in closing, I hope that people be a little bit more kind, and there are some good resources out here. I think it's just how to get those resources out, how to get people to tune in and make that phone call. Because we could post telephone numbers and websites all day long. Some
Mm-hmm.
Right.
people actually need support pushing that button,
True.
making that
Yeah.
phone call. So I think outside of giving a resource, they need linkage to these services and
Yep.
additional support.
Mm.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, Ron, have you in your career dealt with racism from other officers in law enforcement?
You know, it's like racism has happened at every point in my life in general, just being a black man. Um, yeah, because like I grew up pretty much in a predominantly white neighborhood and area, and so I've noticed it for a long time. As far as in law enforcement, I have noticed just and this is what I kind of realized, especially on the police department. There's different types of racism. There is racism where they've been personally affected by, which is very rare, especially when I'm talking about like when it comes to white people, white officers in general. But then I believe a lot of this is passed down, like learned racism. Because I remember talking to this one guy, and I would ask him, and he said, "Well, it's just the fact that my mother couldn't get a job because all the blacks were taking all the doctor, was she a nurse or a school teacher, whatever, because they had to hire a minority, this, that, the other." And I'm like, well, how do you know because your mother wasn't a good teacher, or your mother was actually the less
Wasn't a good
qualified
fit.
one? Yeah, she
Right.
might have been the less qualified one, but she had to use race. So a lot of it was learned racism, but not real like what happened to me personally kind of things. And that was kind of weird to me. Some people like to say, well, I don't know if I can ever work with a racist person. You do. You work with racist people all the time. They don't
Okay.
openly show it, what I'm saying? But when people would say stuff, it's like, hey, I'm the curious one. Like, what makes you say this? What makes you feel this way? Because I wanna know where comes at the root at it. Where's it come rooted from? And like I said,
Yeah.
I've yet to meet somebody who says, well, this happened to me, or they had a real traumatic experience. It's almost like well, my dad used to call them shines back in the military, so I call them shines. And I'm like, first of all, I didn't know what the fuck a shine was. I'm like, what? I swear to God.
Oh
And then
wow.
I didn't, because I never heard that term before. And they were like, I was talking to this one officer, and she was saying, yeah, yeah, something about her dad used to always call shine, shine, shine. And I was like, I never thought about it. And then she said, talked to her sister. She was like, yeah, my baby's father is Mexican. And she said, and that was bad because you imagine if I'd have brought home a shine. As soon as she said that, I was like, oh shit, you talking about black people, you know? And
Mm,
Dang.
yeah, I didn't, because I never heard that terminology before. So
no.
it's just
Wow.
it's just it's just a weird type of. But the hardest thing to prove, and I don't like using race as a default, because I understand as black people, as soon as something goes bad, a lot of times it's because I'm black, ain't it? And
Yep.
I just don't like. I have to go ahead and think of other things, because I'm like, if now just like they said the quote, if you take away all of the variables, and most obvious one, no matter how far fetched it is, nigga, that's probably it. Like, it could be just because you black. Now, if my blackness has any effect on how you treat me, that's on you. That's your problem. It's not my problem. You
Right.
know. But I refuse, and I like I said, and I'm glad the police department is kind of moving away from we're being held more accountable. It's to see something, say something. If you notice somebody's doing something that they shouldn't be doing, because if you don't say anything, you go into jail. You
Yeah.
know. So I'm appreciative of that. Like, hey, because my whole family's law enforcement, and one of the standards I always put it, would I want this person working in the car with my loved one? And if I said no, then something's not right with you.
Yeah.
Yep.
And in closing, I think, like you said, a lot of racism is learned
Yeah.
and picked up on, or like you said, the your buddy's mom couldn't get a job or whatever because all the black people got it, whatever like that.
Right.
I think if we take the time to really learn or get to know and learn each other or each other's cultural
Sure.
differences,
Yeah.
I think things would be so much better. I remember real quick talking to a white cat at a cigar lounge, one of our regulars in Texas. In Texas,
Hmm.
and he come from a little small white Texas town, but he got beat up by a black guy. He got beat up, and I from that interaction, or I guess the black guy messing with him or whatever, or a few times, he thought all black people were like that because I guess it wasn't so many black people in that town.
Right.
And he looked at that one black guy as
Mhm.
black people are horrible, black people are terrible, they're
Mhm.
full of rage and violent.
And then look
And
at the
so he,
media. Yeah.
yeah, and he looks at the media as well. So he came to Austin. Once he arrived to Austin years back, over 10 years ago, his perspective changed
Hmm.
because he saw all black people are not like that,
Mm-mm.
and once you take the time to learn a person, get to know a person and get to know what their cultural or their slang or sayings or whatever, I think we will come into a better place altogether.
People
We
have to be
just
open to do
learn
that. People have
learn
to be
each other.
open to want to learn.
Yeah, you got to want to learn it.
Right.
Yeah,
Remember
Yep.
the show FX had it? It was black and white. Ice Cube produced it years ago, where they had the
yeah.
black family wearing makeup to appear white, and they had the white family wear makeup to appear black. And they asked the white people actually had to go through like additional training on how to act around black people. And they asked the black family, "Well, do you need additional training?" They're like, "No, that's our lives. We have to code switch. They don't.
Hmm.
And
And that's true.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yes, true.
Yeah,
True.
that's
Well,
true. Yeah.
really, really good discussion, y'all. I think
Thank
we
you
could we
guys.
could we could
Yeah.
talk about this
Oh
all
yeah.
the time because it's the
Same
world
here.
we live in, unfortunately. But it was just really, really good having y'all on, Tanya and Ron. Thank y'all so much
Yes. Thank you
for
guys.
joining us. It's always a pleasure.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime. You got my
Yeah.
number.
It won't be the last time that we have you guys. You already know that, Latanya. So we
Yeah.
appreciate you guys.
Yes,
Yeah.
we definitely
It's
do.
still stuck on
Definitely
this
do.
screen. That's why I just, turn my I got the resting face.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
definitely look forward to next time. And this next time I want you guys to join me on my podcast because I have a
Oh, okay.
very
Okay.
interesting discussion. So join my podcast, More Sex.
Well, you let us know, and
What is it called? Hold
we
on.
will
What
be
is it
there.
called again?
She said, "Excuse me, hold on."
Oh, it's called More
Well,
Sex.
I definitely want to be
heard
on.
it.
Hey, I definitely want to be on
Well,
that.
that's
Pencil
right
me
up
in,
her.
Doctor. Pencil
That's
me
right
in.
up her alley, guys. That's definitely right up her alley.
Great. Well, I would definitely reach out soon so we could make it happen.
Yeah, let's
Let's
Okay,
do it.
great,
Let's
great.
do
definitely.
Okay,
it.
thanks a lot.
Thank you
Like,
guys for joining us.
Oh, you're
This has been your
welcome.
boy, the Ward, EMAC, Caramel, of course. This is your favorite podcast show, The Rundown. And man, thanks for our special guests, Ron and Latanya, for joining us. Man, just a wealth of information. Thank you guys so much. And you guys got any final words before we get out of here?
Oh, hey, just be safe out there.
yeah, just be safe.
Yeah.
Be safe. And hey, it's Leo season.
Oh,
Yeah.
And this
whoa.
I
time
Yeah.
have
next
a
week. This
Hold
time
I have
next
a
on.
I
week.
have a 4-year-old who just turned 4
Oh,
Saturday, and she is every bit of a Leo.
Yes,
Every
Oh,
go
oh,
in your houses because we are out, baby.
oh, wow.
And we gonna let y'all have it. We gonna let y'all
Thank
have it.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
Just
you,
y'all
be
can go
love.
praying for
ahead
the
and have it.
Scorpios.
And
Oh,
on
Lord. Oh, I
Yes.
love my Scorpios, though, and
Yes.
Scorpios love Leos. Yes, you
oh
do.
wow. Well, on that note, y'all can definitely have it. And y'all already know what I always say. Hashtag do what they said that you couldn't do. Shaboy, the Ward. This has been the Rundown with my peoples. Let's go. We out.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace. Peace. Peace.